Joining me now is Democratic Senator Ben Cardin. He, of course, the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. He recently returned from the region as part of a bipartisan delegation. Chairman Cardin, we're so thankful that you've joined us. You are not one of the senators who has signed on to this statement. Why? And do you think a pause in the hostilities right now is a mistake?
Ryan, it's good to be with you. I had a chance to speak with Secretary Blinken yesterday before his arrival in Israel to go over our concerns for Israel's right to defend itself in the military operations, but also making sure that there is a safe way of delivering humanitarian assistance. We've made tremendous progress during the last couple of days in developing a safe passage for humanitarian assistance to reach those that are so desperate in Gaza, the Palestinians trying to escape harm's way. So I think our objectives are all the same: to make sure that the humanitarian assistance can get into Gaza and to make sure there's a reliable way to do that. And that's one of the missions that Secretary Blinken is following up on in his visit to Israel.
Well, yesterday, sir, the House passed a $14.3 billion aid package for Israel. Right now, it does not include any aid for Ukraine. And that's different from what you told me you expected when we spoke about a month ago. Let's listen to your comments from then.
I do think Ukraine will be part of this. Ukraine has an urgent need. We cannot go much longer and provide the type of assistance Ukraine needs in order to defend itself. That's critically important to our national security. So we do believe it will be combined between Israel and Ukraine.
Do you still feel that way, sir? Do you think that the Senate will ultimately link funding for Israel and Ukraine? And if those two efforts are not linked, what could potentially be the result when this legislation goes back to the House?
Well, I still believe that we're going to put Ukraine and Israel together. The House bill is dead on arrival in the Senate. It's not going to pass the Senate. Senator Schumer has made that clear. I think Senator McConnell has made it clear that we also have to deal with Ukraine. There's an urgent need to deal with both Ukraine and Israel, and we're going to keep that together. The message, if we divided it, is that Ukraine's not a priority when it is a priority. We have to help the Ukrainians, the front line, the defense of democracy. It's in our interest to make sure Russia does not win that war and then expand it to other countries in Europe. So we are committed to helping Israel. We're committed to helping Ukraine.
I want to show you some video, sir, of activity, the protests that are happening in Senate office buildings right now. Many of your colleagues facing protests from supporters of the Palestinian people in that region. And I wonder, they're calling for a ceasefire, what many of these protesters are calling for. And NBC News is reporting that some Biden administration officials are worried that the U.S. could become more isolated on the world stage because of President Biden's alignment with Israel. Is that something that concerns you as well?
I think we have a common interest here. Israel's security depends upon Hamas being defeated. Hamas is determined to destroy Israel and the Jews that live there, but they're also committed to making it impossible for the Palestinians in Gaza to be able to have an economic and secure future. So it's in the interest of the Palestinians, it's in the interest of the Israelis that Hamas be defeated. And I would hope that we could have unity in that message. I've met with so many of the leaders of Arab states in the region that recognize there is no future for a Palestinian state. There's no future for the Palestinians with Hamas in Gaza. That has to be defeated.
Okay. And finally, sir, Senator Bob Menendez, the man whose place you took as chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, still attending classified briefings despite facing an indictment on federal corruption charges, including working as an unregistered agent of Egypt. One of your colleagues, Senator John Fetterman, has introduced a resolution that would bar Menendez from attending those briefings and even serving on Senate committees. Do you support that resolution, and do you believe it's appropriate that Senator Menendez is taking part in these briefings?
Well, at this moment, I'm focused on chairing the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. It has a critical role to play at this moment in the history of conflicts around the world. Bob Menendez is a member of that committee. I have to make sure that committee can function. It's up to the United States Senate as to his status, and that's where it should be, not in the committee itself.
So at this point, you don't have a position on the resolution, or just to be clear?
I need to work with all the members of the Committee on Foreign Relations, and that's my primary responsibility, to make sure I have a relationship where I can have the committee function. It's a close margins between Democrats and Republicans. So it's important for me to make sure we have a functioning committee. Bob Menendez's status in the United States Senate is to be determined by the full Senate, not by the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.